What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Psycho Gamer. I am always your host, Aubrey, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different from the arcade machines that I'm used to talking about. Today we're going to talk about what if. What if Sega releases a Dreamcast 2? What games would we want to see on this console? We're going to take a look at 5 games that could headline the Dreamcast 2 if Sega were to actually release it. So make sure you smash that like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications, and stick around. Alright, welcome back, guys. Like I mentioned before, we are going to talk about 5 games that many of us would love to see sequels for on, say, a Dreamcast 2, if Sega decides to actually get back into the console game. Now, some of you may not remember the Dreamcast because you might be a little bit too young, because you might be on the younger side of things. But the Dreamcast was a console that was released in the United States in 1999. 9999. So we just are about to actually come up on the anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast. So it's going to be 21 years old. So that's actually a pretty good long life if it actually survived longer than 2 years. Unfortunately, the original Dreamcast failed due to mismanagement and also piracy. So when you hear a lot of companies saying, please don't pirate our games, the Sega Dreamcast is a very good example as to why you don't want to do that. Should the Sega Dreamcast 2 come out, there are a few games that many people would love to see. One of those would be Power Stone 3. Power Stone was a 4-player beat-em-up kind of game. It was actually a very popular game. It was released by Capcom, not just on one parts, but it was also out long enough for Capcom to release 2 parts for it. They did later release it on later consoles as a Power Stone collection, but for some people it kind of fell a little bit flat. It didn't have the same feeling as it did on the Sega Dreamcast. So many people have been looking forward to a Power Stone 3 to come out for a very long time now. They could release it on some of the other consoles, like the Nintendo Switch. I think it would probably be a really good fit for the Nintendo Switch, or something like the Xbox One, or even the PlayStation 4. Maybe even like upcoming gaming consoles that are coming out. I think it would surprise a lot of people if they were to actually release another one of these games, or even announce that one of these games is being made. So Capcom, stop messing around. Go ahead and announce that this sequel is going to be coming out. Sega, hurry up. Just release the Dreamcast 2 or announce that you're going to make it. If you guys think that this is a game that you would like to see, post below. Leave a comment. And maybe we can get a good conversation going on some of these games that we would love to see. If this isn't one of your games you want to see, tell us one that you would love to see. The next game that I would love to see released on a Dreamcast 2 or even a future console or a current console would be Crazy Taxi 4. Now, I loved the first 2 Crazy Taxi games. They were developed by Hitmaker and published by Sega. Probably a couple of the most fun arcade games that I've actually played. Now, they did come out with a 3rd one. I don't really count that one too much. But in terms of games that were on the Sega Dreamcast that could be big sellers based off of their arcade backing, I think Crazy Taxi and Crazy Taxi 2 should have a true Dreamcast 2 sequel with either a remake of the original Crazy Taxi or Crazy Taxi 4. Again, I don't really count Crazy Taxi 3 quite so much because it wasn't on the actual Dreamcast itself. So it would be cool if we could actually see another one of these wacky arcade games where you had the ability to pick people up and drop people off. And, it was a lot of fun. I don't know if many of you would be looking forward to a brand new Crazy Taxi, but what are some features that you would love to see in a new Crazy Taxi? Post it below. I think the ability to pick up multiple people, like in the later Crazy Taxis, is a pretty cool idea. But maybe having the ability to customize your own vehicles a little more would be a cool feature. Next game that's going to be on our list is going to be Sonic Adventure 3. Yes, I loved Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure Parts 1 and 2, collecting the little chows, if I'm not mistaken, that's what they were called. And if you had the VMU unit, you could take them around and have like a virtual pet. They called it like a gigapet, which was actually really cool. I think mine would be very sad if I tried to turn mine on right now and looked at the little eggs. It would probably be wondering, why haven't you touched me in 15 or 20 years? It might be a little bit awkward, but imagine them releasing a Dreamcast and still putting out an adapter to work with the older VMU units, just for nostalgic's sake. Or they just release something like, think like a little MP3 player that looked exactly like one of the little VMUs. So there's always a lot of different possibilities with some of these things with releasing a game like that. But I just loved the original 3D capabilities of your Sonic Adventure games. They were just a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of people play the games now just to beat the games. But Sonic Adventure was one of those games that you could just play and play and play over and over and over and just have a lot of fun with it. So, what do you guys think about us wanting them to release a Sonic Adventure 3? Post it below. Post some memories of some of these games that you really liked. What were some of the best things about some of these games that I've mentioned that you liked? Do you have memories of going and picking the games up? Camping out for the original Dreamcast? Pretty cool. I know I had a couple memories, but maybe I'll post those in another day. The next game was a huge game. It was probably one of the last giant games released on the Dreamcast. I would love to see Ikaruga Part 2 released on a second Dreamcast. Yes, I said it. Ikaruga was one of those shooters where it was all about hell. It was bullets, bullets, bullets. You had to flip your ship over in order not to get hit by certain colors. It was madness. This game was released by Treasure, and it was something that I don't think they expected to be as big as it did on the Dreamcast, but I think that was one of the last big gasps that the Dreamcast actually had in its short 2-year lifespan in the United States. But Ikaruga II could be a huge console seller, not specifically for a Dreamcast 2, but also for the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, or even the new consoles as well. Maybe Ikaruga 2 on the Nintendo Switch. It's a matter of if it can handle that much stuff. I think it really could. If the Dreamcast could handle the original Ikaruga, it could also handle Ikaruga 2, or even any other sequels that they may be able to toss its way. So, did you guys love the original Ikaruga? Would you like to see a sequel? I know I would like to see a sequel. But we're not all the same people. But I think many of you that are shooters, especially little space shooters, airplane shooters, would agree that Ikaruga 2 would make an amazing, amazing sequel and even a launch title for a Dreamcast 2. So, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Last game on my top 5 list that I would like to see. Skies of Arcadia Part 2. Skies of Arcadia was an RPG released on the Sega Dreamcast. It was developed by Overworks and published by Sega. Now, Overworks did eventually get absorbed by Sega, if I'm not mistaken, or they were just one of the little offshoots that they actually had there. But Skies of Arcadia was an RPG similar to what you were going to get from the Final Fantasy games back in the day. So it's going to be a turn-based RPG that people really enjoyed the story with. So I myself loved the art of Skies of Arcadia, and I think many of other people would love to get Skies of Arcadia Part 2. Now, from what I've seen around on some forums, there have been a lot of people that have been screaming to the stars that they want to see Skies of Arcadia Part 2. If you're one of those people, post it below, because I think Skies of Arcadia 2 would be a big RPG right now. Now, a lot of people are always dying for the next Final Fantasy or any of the next RPGs that are out there. But I think this is one that a lot of people would agree that they would love to see a sequel on. Whether it's on a newer console, whether it would be on the hopeful Dreamcast 2, that probably will never happen. But we can always hope. Like I said, leave a post below. Tell me what you think. Now, while I did say there was only going to be 5 games, I think there should be one more, an honorable mention. Honorable mention is a rollerblading game that many people really, really like. Jet Set Radio, or Jet Grind Radio. Now, having a part 2 to this, I think people would love that. The cell shading gameplay back in the day, those games were just amazing. I loved how you actually can skate around, do your little bit of tagging, and then be gone. Sitting there grinding right down the rails. It was just a fun game. It was kind of like an arcade feel in a home game console. Imagine them releasing that for a newer game console. Maybe not a Dreamcast 2. Which, yes, I know I'm saying Dreamcast 2 a lot in this, because I want to emphasize this is what we would like to see on a newer game console. We all have the PlayStations and the Xboxes and the Nintendos. But for nostalgia's sake, why couldn't Sega get back into it? They've made a lot of money back. They should have more than enough to make a new console for research and development. At least you would think they would. You would think they would. But who knows? Myself, I'd love to see a new Dreamcast. I liked the controller style, which I think a lot of these companies really took the idea of the Dreamcast controller and ran with it. I mean, look at the Xbox controllers, just in general. The Xbox controllers did look fairly similar to the Dreamcast controller, other than you didn't necessarily need to put the VMU on the inside. Now, the original Xbox, yeah, you did have memory cards that you could get for the original Xbox that you can just plug right into the controllers. That was that time period. When the new game consoles came out there, the Sega died. Unfortunately, it is what it is. You know what it is? History. It is a piece of history. But that's going to do it for my video, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed the little bit of content that I released. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you liked what you saw, if you want to start a great conversation about what you want to see on Dreamcast 2, maybe you have a completely different list on the games you would love to see, post it below. I comment all the time. I like all the time. So, again, thank you guys for coming and watching my video. Until next time, guys, game on.